Here we are again for another Torah study here on netivonline.org. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do it right now. Subscribe and like it if you enjoy the class, and share it with your friends. Parshat, Devarim. We're going to be exploring universal wisdom that is found from Moses' final words to the people of Israel. Parshat Devarim begins the final book of the Torah, and this is called Deuteronomy. It's Moses Rabbeinu's farewell address to the children of Israel before entering into the land. Now, although addressed to Israel, its moral and spiritual insights apply universally. Those who seek to live by the Torah's universal truths can gain powerful guidance from Moses' reflections. Many times these ponderings are often beneath the surface, sort of deep down into the well. And we attempt in these classes to draw this knowledge up so that we can apply it to all people. The first thing that we're going to discover is the power of honest reflection. Deuteronomy 1, verse 1 through 5, it sums up by saying this: these are the words that Moses spoke to all of Israel. Now, the first verse shows us the importance of rebuke with compassion and the courage of self-reflection. Rashi notes that Moses gently rebukes Israel by reflecting locations instead of directly naming the sin. For example, he says the wilderness, which equals the sin of the spies. This teaches us the idea of sensitivity in communication is very important, especially for leadership. Whether you are a spouse or a parent or a leader in business or just a friend, rebuke is often accepted better when it's brought with sensitivity and compassion and kindness. A wise person realizes that personal growth begins with reflection and honest feedback, given and received with humility. Our personal critique and criticism should be measured with a tremendous amount of compassion. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch is quoted saying, "The Torah is a book of education, not condemnation. Its purpose is to illuminate our path, not to punish our steps." Whether a leader or individual, ethical correction must be given with dignity. We're reminded of the effect of shared moral responsibility. Devarim 1, 9 through 18 says, "I cannot carry you alone. Choose for yourself wise men." Moses delegates leadership based on wisdom and character, not birthright or status. Ibn Ezra and Sforno highlights the emphasis on ethical qualities like impartiality and justice. We as citizens of the world must demand that our leaders, as well as of ourselves, live by this same ethical standard of justice and impartiality in the world. We get, as a nation, as a people, as citizens of the world, what we are. So if you want a better world, we have to begin to improve ourselves. Now, what we observe is that a just society requires moral leadership, transparency, and a shared sense of duty. Ramban states in Melachim 9, upholding justice is a human obligation. Support ethical governance and fair courts are key pillars of the 7 laws given to humanity. This text prompts us to avoid a fear-based level of decisions in our life. Deuteronomy 1, 22 through 23 says, "You did not believe in Hashem, and you murmured in your hearts," or in your tents. Murmuring and worrying is a sign of a lack of trust in the divine. Moses recounts the sin of the spies, and fear led to rebellion and loss of trust in God. I submit that loss of trust in God is actually the beginning of fear and rebellion. We've got to guard our hearts and cherish our connection with the Holy One, blessed be He. Sforno states, their mistake was evaluating the land based only on material concerns and ignoring the spiritual mission. How often do we find ourselves kvetching, complaining, focusing on all the negativity around us, all the things that we cannot control, and the one thing that we do have control of is our spiritual mission. Our response to our environment, often our physicality oppresses us, but for a purpose. And that purpose is to cause us to focus inwardly to our spiritual condition and what is our spiritual mission. This wisdom tells us to trust in divine guidance over worldly fears. Life's challenges should be faced with moral conviction, not panic. Life's trials are not calls to panic, but invitations to stand firm in and with moral conviction and clarity. Remember, clarity comes through not through fear, but through faith and courage. When nations are driven by fear or propaganda, injustice spreads and chaos rules. Look around. This is exactly what we have to this day. We cannot afford ourselves to be influenced by the propaganda and the negativity around us, because if that happens, then we know that injustice spreads and chaos rules. We're now going to examine the idea coming from Deuteronomy, the first chapter, verse 34 through 46, the idea of accountability and collective consequences. It states in this verse, Hashem became angry and swore, not one of these people will see the good land. Ramban states that the entire generation had to wait because of the collective failure in faith and unity. This text parses out the idea that all people, not only the Israelites, are part of the moral fabric of the world. Remember, our silence in the face of injustice is complicity. We cannot afford to be silent anymore, no matter where you're at in the world. If you are a citizen of a tribe, a community, a nation, we need to begin to insist on justice and insist on goodness and insist on purity in a world in which we live, in which we're not hating and going to war with each other. One day, God willing, we will see a time where our weapons of warfare, our missiles, will be carved into instruments of good in the world. In our globalized world, one's action or inactions can affect everyone. This Parshat teaches us respect for boundaries and nations. Deuteronomy, the second chapter, verse 2 through 23, it says, do not provoke Moab or Ammon, for I have given them their land. God commands Israel not to conquer the lands he gave to other nations. The Malbim explains, this affirms that all nations have a role in God's plan. Your nation has a role in God's plan. Every nation has a role. Now, it can be a positive role or a negative role, depending on what the people of the nation desire. This teaches us to recognize and respect the dignity and sovereignty of all people. Promote peace and coexistence is important. Torah acknowledges a divine purpose even in the nations outside of the land of Israel. Every nation has a divine purpose. We cannot afford to forget divine providence in world events. The second chapter of Deuteronomy, verse 24 through the third chapter, verse 11, is summed up by saying, I have delivered Sion into your hands. Now, these stories show that God's guiding hand in historical events. Rashi taught that even the wars and migrations of nations are under divine orchestration. We see all of the immigrants and illegal immigrants and politicians wanting people from other nations to fill their lands, whether good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not here to say, but I can tell you one thing, everything is under divine orchestration, and we should become wise to that and begin to ask ourselves why. What we learn from this text is that we should look beyond the surface of world events. History is not just a random act of events. There's a moral order that governs the rise and fall of nations. We are all individually responsible to act justly within that divine framework to receive or to achieve a divine outcome, a positive outcome. The next part of this parsha, we see that Moses longed to enter into the land. Deuteronomy, the third chapter, verse 23 through 29, it says, let me cross and see the good land. Moses actually begs to enter Israel. But God denies his request. And we could get into the reasons why, but that's not for this place or this lesson. The Midrash states in Devarim Rabbah, Moses represents the ideal of yearning for holiness, even if we don't achieve it. Now, how do we apply this in our own lives? First, by striving for closeness with God. Even if you're not Jewish and you cannot do the mitzvahs or the laws according to Judaism, you are the people of the nations. You can strive to draw close to God. One of the greatest values and lessons we learn in Jewish wisdom is that if a person desires to do some great command to fulfill charity or whatever it may be, an act of goodness in the world, but yet is incapable due to their circumstances, God considers it, because of their intent, as if they did it already and did it to the greatest level. Next, God values desire for good, not only the achievement. What is your intent? What is my intent in the world? What do I desire in this world? Do we desire to focus on the negativity? Do we desire to conquer other people and to destroy them? Or do we desire to live in peace with one another? We should develop a heart that longs for truth, purity, goodness, and righteousness. In conclusion, this Parshat teaches universal lessons of humility, justice, trust in God, and respect for others. We are partners in creation's moral vision. You and I are partners in this world, and we're partners with the Holy One to bring about light and illumination. You see, even though God is the source, we have the responsibility to draw down that source. How? By applying these values, you join the Torah's mission to perfect the world. The righteous among the nations have a share in the world to come, according to Sanhedrin 105a. May the Holy One guide us all to spiritual maturity and prosperity as we draw down light of godliness and mercy in this world. Shalom.